All right, I'm the Flat Rate Master, and today we're talking about how not to live paycheck to paycheck. Well, if anybody's watching this video, living paycheck to paycheck, well, sucks. It does. I've been there. So we're going to talk about some ways to, well, not live paycheck to paycheck. And a lot of them are going to hurt. Sorry. So let's talk about the monkey in the room. Everybody that lives paycheck to paycheck thinks the solution is more money. And sometimes it is. But for the vast majority of people that live paycheck to paycheck, it's not. If they live paycheck to paycheck now, you add more money, they will still live paycheck to paycheck, they just spend more money. I've known people that make $100,000, $200,000 a year and live paycheck to paycheck. You know, I know people that live, 20, 30 grand and don't live paycheck to paycheck. So let's talk about some of the things you can do to not live like that. We're going to take a fictitious amount of money just to use the numbers, and that's your pay for the month. So you get paid $1,000 a week take home. That's what your paycheck is. So just going to say 4 weeks to make it easy. First of the month, your rent's due. Your rent is $1,000. And before anybody says anything in the comments about my area is yada, 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 just an example. Okay, so your first paycheck of the month, gone. You only have $3,000 left of income for the month. Now, you're a technician, right? You got tool truck bills, right? Well, how much are those? So let's just say, round number, let's say you bought a big old toolbox off the tool truck. You got a $100 payment a week on that or whatever, just say $100. And you got another $100 on top of that for tool trucks, the tools, actual tools. So now you're at $200 a week in tool truck payments. Well, think about what I just said. Your first check's gone and you still owe $200. That's living paycheck to paycheck. So let's take that math and continue. So $200, $400, $600, $800. So your second paycheck is mostly gone. Okay, so you got $200 plus another $2,000. So you got a car payment. Let's just say car payment and insurance is $500. So now you're down to what? $1,700? Well, then you go pay the rest of your bills at your apartment or house or whatever. Let's just say $500. So you're down to how much? $700? Well, then you have to feed yourself, clothe yourself, and all that. Do you see my point? You very quickly burn through all that money. Let's say you stop at the gas station, buy a snack and a bunch of energy drinks that you spend 10 bucks a day in energy drinks and junk. So that's 50 bucks every week. Add that up. That's what? Another $200. So you're down to $500. Well, lunch. You're going to want to eat some lunch, right? Well, let's just say 10 bucks a day. Well, that's another $200. You're down to $300 for everything else. That's how you're living paycheck to paycheck. That's unfortunately how people don't look at money. They look at money like, oh, I've got $1,000 in my bank account. That's not how you need to be looking at it. You need to be looking at, well, I can't afford that big expensive toolbox because that's $400 a month out of my income. That's how you need to think. You need to figure out a budget for what you can afford. Every week before your rent's due, you should be putting away a quarter of your rent to pay it on the first when it's due, not be late, so you don't pay late fees, but you should be saving up over the course of a month instead of trying to pay it all at once because, well, that's how you get behind real easy. You figure you got sick, missed a couple days of work, you're out of vacation time, you didn't get paid, you're short for rent, you get behind. That's why I preach about having savings. It's a good thing for everybody in the world to have a savings account just for emergency cash. Investments are a different story, and I'm not the guy to talk to about investments. Go watch some investing channels. But anyway, so one of the first things you need to do once you realize you're in that circle, because that's what it is, it's just going to keep repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. You're going to need to make some, well, sacrifices. You know, you're going to need to, well, stop buying all those monsters. You're going to start having to bring your food from home and stuff like that. It's awkward and sucks, but that's what you need to do. You need to stop some of those luxuries until you can get out of that cycle. That's one of the things is you have to do, is you have to get out of that cycle of, you know, counting pennies to get to work before payday, so you know, when your check drops, you can fill your tank up so you have money to go to work. You know, believe me, I've been there. At one point in my life, my wife was only working part-time and I was more or less the only breadwinner in the house. And so most of my check went to paying bills. So literally when my check dropped in my bank, I ran to the bank, pulled out a bunch of cash to live on, because we were living paycheck to paycheck. My wife was going to start paying bills and I needed to make sure I had gas money and money to pay the tool trucks, etc., etc. Like I said, been there, done that. It sucks for everybody, but you have to work through your situation and figure out how to get out of that loop. I have some issues with Dave Ramsey, mostly about his opinion of credit, but he does preach ways to get out of that kind of thing, getting out of debt, getting out of those situations where you're just going around and around and around. But that's what you need to do. You need to get yourself out of that circle. Like I said, more income usually doesn't fix those kind of situations. All that happens is the circle got a little bigger, because all you're going to do is spend more money. You know, oh, I got a raise at work, so I'm going to go buy a new truck, or oh, I'm going to go out and buy and you keep cycling. The last thing I'm going to talk about is credit card debt. You know, tool trucks and tools, buying tools, whether you like it or not, is part of this industry. And you need to buy smart. That's one of the reasons why I started this channel, is you need to buy smart so you don't make some of those mistakes. Credit cards are not evil. Debt is evil. That's one of the things you have to understand. Credit cards make most of their money from interest. They make money from transaction fees, but where they make their most amount of income is people that pay the minimum and keep charging. Don't get into that rut. That's one of the worst things you can do in life, is to get into credit card debt. Again, been there, done that. I was looking at my Credit Karma report the other day, and I currently have $80,000 of available credit on credit cards. My utilization was 2%. And after my payments hit, my utilization was going to go to 0. But that's what I do. I use credit cards for points and pay them off multiple times during the month. I don't pay interest on any of my cards. I work the credit card system for my benefit, not theirs. That's what you need to understand. If you can't handle having a piece of plastic in your wallet that you can go out and buy whatever you want, forgetting that you have to pay it, they're not for you. If you can't have the discipline to pay it off every month, probably don't need it, because you'll probably buy stuff you don't need. But anyway, I know this video is extremely preachy, but it's important that we get off that wheel. If you're on it, get off of it, because you'll never get out of the cycle if you don't. You got to take a left somewhere along the line and get out of that circle. As always, thanks for watching. I am the Flat Rate Master.